Greetings survivors and friends, SHADOWFRAX here. Welcome to this week's update, and Bradley has landed. Yes, after trundling around in testing for what seems like literally weeks, he's here, and to be honest, only about 83.4% complete, but that doesn't mean he's not 100% efficient at killing nakeds, or indeed anyone wanting a guided tour of the launch site. Bear in mind though that because he's still very much a work in progress, all the facts and figures I'm about to give you will change, so please don't treat them as canon. As you can see here, he has a patrol route that takes him around the site, but not beyond it, although there are plans to let him loose on the island's roads in the future. He only has 2 functional weapons at the moment, but more will come online as time goes by. There's his main cannon, which has quite the range and speed, as you can see here, although there is a pause between volleys thankfully, and his coaxial machine gun, which he prefers to use at closer range. He'll prioritise targets if there are multiples and try to seek you out if you run away from him, but there are probably quite a few ways to exploit him at the moment, to be honest, like this for instance. So if you come across anything sneaky, then do let Uncle Helk and the team know via Reddit. Unless you want to keep it to yourself, of course. Right now, bullets are only very mildly effective, but it takes 1 C4 or 3 rockets to murder him, and the results are pretty much exactly the same as the chopper. He'll drop a couple of crates that can be rifled through once the fires have died down, and here's an example of the type of booty you can expect, although the loot tables for these are very much temporary. His jibs can also be harvested once the sizzling has stopped, and I've been able to get this much in total out of him, although, again, this will probably all change. Talking of jibs, there used to be an issue where the leftovers from the chopper were tricky to harvest unless you hit them in just the right spot, but fortunately, this week that was fixed. Bradley might be here, but it looks like we'll have to wait a while longer to meet the scientists. Work is continuing on the new nav mesh system, with the final icing on the cake being the linking together of all the different sections so that they can walk between them. This is a little bit tricky, so no firm date on completion yet, but the system has been merged to main for testing, and although off by default, can be enabled by server owners by adding the following to the server startup batch file. Please note though that this will also require restart to take effect. As I say, it's not complete, but this will cause scientists to spawn at some of the monuments. Not much changed on the new recoil system this update, apart from that the horizontal on the M92 was halved. Now that the main work on the Bradley is done though, you should expect more on this, including changes to semi-autos in the coming weeks. Graphically, sky brightness was toned down a bit. Not a lot, just a tweak, but along with last week's change to fog, contrast of distant objects has increased slightly. Smoke trails on rockets now actually hang around instead of disappearing the moment the explosion occurs, something that really did kill the immersion for me, so I'm happy about that. In performance now, and another round of garbage collection streamlining took place this week. If you don't know what that means, it's basically trying to cut down on the amount of memory that the game has to try to recycle. In this update, the bin men targeted renderer and collider batching systems, foliage and foliage displacement. Things are definitely looking up here, and next on the list will be caching of paintable sign textures. A significant memory leak was located too. The game was continuously leaking materials whenever mining quarries, vending machines, flashlights, lasers and planter boxes were coming in and out of the networking distance. This is now fixed. However, certain visuals were temporarily disabled as a result, leading for instance to tuna can wall lamps glowing slightly when not in use, and I actually really like this and wouldn't mind if it stayed. Don't know about you, but I've done my fair share of fumbling in the dark looking for things, and I kind of wish that furnaces, campfires and other light sources had a slight ember to them as well. I guess we can but dream. A big list of performance improvements surrounding rendering was ticked off too this week, and without going into too much detail, total savings could range from 2 to 5 milliseconds, especially on lower spec machines, which should translate into a fairly good FPS improvement. Although I'm sure you're going to tell me it's worse or something, aren't you? Over to works in progress now, and even though it's only been a week, the new gas station monument seems to have aged by about 30 years. The final interior and exterior modelling is done, overgrowth's been added, and the last pieces of the puzzle are just a few remaining props and a good spit and polish. The supermarket also had another sweep, and it now has LODs, collision meshes and loot spawns. All that remains is another damage pass and textures for props. Expect to see both of these new small elements in the next forced wipe on September the 7th. Lastly, the Geiger counter I showed you last week is looking really amazing now with lots of small details. I think somebody enjoyed texturing this one a little bit too much, if you know what I mean. No word yet on exactly how large a part it'll play in the game, but stay tuned and I'll tell you everything I know when I know it. You can show support for my channel by spanking the like and subscribe buttons and following me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and my Steam group. Links in the description. Please let me know what you thought of this week's update too, and I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.